Hey there everybody, this is Jimmy. I'm going to be showing y'all how to make a do-it-yourself Java moss wall. I'm going to be making mine for my nano shrimp tank. And here's some of the things you'll need. You're going to need some of this black plastic mesh. I got it at Michael's, and I'll put the what it's called now in the description. You're going to need some black thread or something else like that, a pair of scissors, a needle, some Java moss, and a tape measure. And how I did it was, I placed mine up against here, up against the wall, and then I kind of just went by the squares on how many I needed to cut off. And I've already cut mine, so I'll go ahead and show that to you. Here's the main piece. You're going to have to use more than one on these. There is other kind of mesh you can get, but this is what I was using since it's got this little tank and it works just fine. And then you're going to take another piece and cut it to match so it'll cover up that part. And I'm doing it with just one box overlapping to sew in, but if you wanted to, you could do a couple to make it thicker or not. And a lot of people use suction cups to hold them on. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stick it in the substrate and do it that way. It's just easier, and with this it'll stick onto the wall just fine. So I'm going to get things ready and we'll be right back. Alright everybody, I've cut the pieces to fit, and you're going to have two of each one. So I've got there, and then the cover, and then there, and its cover. And you're going to want to very thinly put the Java moss on there. You don't want to do it really thick, because then it'll mat out instead of grow out of the holes. So you want a nice thin layer of just a little bit of Java moss. You want to cover everything except for the bottom, where it's going to be in the substrate. Leave that empty. And then you're going to place your cover right on top of that. And take your needle and thread, and you're just going to loop in and out of all these holes. In and out all along the edge to seal that up really well. You don't have to go through every single hole, just kind of gauge what you think. I know you go about probably every 4 and loop in and out, and then at the edge you're just going to tie that off. So I'm going to do that real quick and then get back to you and show you how to join them together. Alright everybody, I got one side done, and I'm going to try and do this one on film so you can kind of see how it goes. You just get yourself plenty of string out. And go through the first loop. And then I'm doing every 3, and then I'm coming back around to finish it up. And if you get tangles, it doesn't really matter. It'll come out once you pull on it. If you try and do every one, it's going to get really tedious, and you're going to get frustrated and start skipping them, and it's really not necessary to do every one. Every 3 is probably overkill anyway. One thing to be careful about is if you're using the black thread like this, it's kind of thin, so if you pull too hard you might break it, so be careful with that. It takes a little bit of time, but it goes pretty quick. Make sure that you got enough extra string out so that you can come back around, because going through it twice really makes it strong. It's going to make it so you have a nice tight fit, so nobody's going to wander into the mesh and get stuck, which I've heard of people have happening, which doesn't sound very fun. Just kind of go back and forth and then pull it taut. If you're worried about the thread being too thin, you can just get some fishing line and do it the exact same way. It'll give you the exact same results, except you might be able to see the fishing line. I wanted to do black since this aquarium is so small and the fish and the shrimp in it are so tiny that you're gonna be looking really hard, so you're probably gonna notice a fishing line. But in a bigger tank, it would be just fine. You could probably get away without using the needle with it. Just got a tangle. It's not that big a deal. If you're really worried about it, you can just snip the parts that are tangled up off. Just make sure it stays connected when you do that. But I can just throw that behind when I attach this piece to the other piece, so you won't see it. I don't know if you can talk about that right there. It got tangled up a little bit, but not that big a deal. And when you're coming back around, just look for the open holes that you didn't hit the first time. And that'll make sure you get a nice tight seal on the whole thing. It's good to do each one individually, that way if there is a break somewhere, you don't have to redo the entire thing to make sure that it's sealed up properly, which would kind of suck. And you drop your needle and it gets tangled up. Okay, and then when you've gotten back to the beginning, you're going to want to snip your needle off. And then I just loop it around a couple times. Just make a little knot. You can tie whatever kind of knot you want to. This is the easiest one I know of, so I do it. And nice and tight. Snip it close. Okay, so now I've got half of it done. Alright everybody, I've gotten done sewing up the big panel and it's completely done. If you look at it through the light, you can see the thin layer of Java moss. And it's going to sit right there. Now if y'all sit with me, I'll get the camera ready and I'll show you installing this. I'm not going to attach the two pieces because I plan on trimming this a lot, so it'll be easier for maintenance to be able to just take out each piece individually and clean it off. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this one in and then get the other one in and show you how it looks finished. You have a bunch of angry shrimp now. But you want to make sure to get it all the way under the gravel because that's going to really help keep it stuck in. And if you're not impatient like me and you wait to set up your tank, then this is much easier to do. But what's the fun in that? Alright. So now once you get it in there, just throw that back up against it. back on. There you can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. I'm going to put the plants back and then get that last piece put on and then show you the video of what it looks like, and then we'll go from there. Alright everybody, I got the smaller piece sewed up. I'm going to throw it in the tank real quick and then rearrange everything and see what y'all think. You want to make sure that the piece that you cut and the gap that you left that doesn't have any Java moss go under the gravel, and kind of behind this one you're going to have a 1 square overlay if you measured right, or whatever size overlay you want. Doesn't have to be 1 square, it could be, you could do it double wide if you wanted to, I guess. Doesn't really matter. Throw that guy in there. For some reason this one's shorter. Okay, and then there's some gravel there. Keep it in place. There you go. Alright, I'm going to rearrange everything and then turn the camera back on so y'all can see. Alright everybody, the Java moss wall is complete. There you can see it. It comes up to the rim, goes all the way across, and then down to the bottom. And then you put the gravel over the bottom where you don't have your Java moss. And then you can kind of see in there the little strands. And then there's the joiner. And then hopefully that plant right there in about 2 weeks will get nice and tall and bushy and cover up that joint. And then we'll have a nice carpet of moss in about a month or two. And then if you want to see these little guys, this is my bumblebee snail, just going to town with that little mouth of his. And then here is the scarlet batty, which is the smallest fish I've ever seen. He's the same size as the cherry shrimp in here, just kind of chilling, hanging out. And the moss wall is really going to be good for the shrimp because they have babies like crazy all the time, and they eat stuff that collects on the Java moss, so they're going to really like that. And then just kind of a full tank shot. So if y'all have any questions, feel free to ask. One big thing is, when you're using thread, make sure it's not biodegradable, because some threads after a couple weeks in the water will disintegrate, and you don't want to go through all this trouble and then have it disintegrate on you. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. If you got any questions, just post a comment and have a good day. Oh, also, I'd like to give a shout out to doityourselffishkeepers.com. It's a real great forum. Just head on over there, sign up. I'm Memfish on there if you want to say hey. So feel free to join in, learn a lot. Y'all have a good day.